That night, time in Seoul seemed to pause. At Gyeongbokgung Palace, a place where centuries of kings, loss, and rebirth still linger in the air, a song began to rise, Arirang. This was not a celebration, it was not nostalgia, and it was not just music. This was a beginning, because standing at the peak of global K-pop, BTS chose the oldest stage in Korea, to tell its deepest story. Why here? Why Gyeongbokgung? And why Arirang? The answer is simple. This was not a performance meant to impress. It was a moment meant to remember, a song that carries separation, endurance, and hope, a melody born from loss, yet carried forward by resilience. As Arirang echoed through the palace grounds, it was no longer a song of the past, it became the present. The walls that once witnessed invasions and restoration, now held the sound of a generation, transforming history into rhythm. From this night on, Gyeongbokgung was no longer just a royal palace, it became the starting point of a global journey. A world tour that did not begin with fireworks, but with memory. This is the story of how one song became history, how a nation's emotion found its voice, and how that voice began to travel the world. To the world, Arirang may sound like a traditional melody, but to Koreans, it is something far deeper. Arirang is not a song people learned in school, it is a song people learned by living. It was sung when families were separated, when people left their homes, not knowing if they would return, when words were not enough, and only a melody could carry the weight. For generations, Arirang became a quiet companion to endurance. That is why it was never loud, never aggressive, never demanding attention. It waited, and now, centuries later, that waiting ends. When BTS brings Arirang onto the world stage, they do not erase its sorrow, they transform it. The sadness does not disappear, it rises. What was once a song of survival, becomes a song of presence. Pain turns into rhythm, memory turns into movement. For global audiences, this is not about understanding Korean history line by line, it is about recognizing a feeling they already know, loss, longing, and the quiet strength to keep going. That is why Arirang travels so easily across borders, because every culture has its own version of this song, even if it is called by a different name. And in this moment, Arirang stops being only Korea's story, it becomes a shared one. This raises an important question: why begin here? Why Gyeongbokgung? Why not a massive stadium, or a high-tech concert hall, built for sound and spectacle? The answer lies in what this place represents. Gyeongbokgung is not just a palace, it is a witness. It has seen the birth of a dynasty, the collapse of a nation, occupation, destruction, and restoration. This ground remembers what history books summarize. When BTS chose this place, they were not choosing beauty, they were choosing meaning. A stadium amplifies sound, a palace amplifies memory. Every stone, every gate, every shadow, carries the weight of survival. By performing here, BTS places modern Korean culture inside a much longer timeline. They are not standing above history, they are standing inside it. This is what makes the moment powerful. The music does not overwrite the past, it listens to it, and then, it answers. In a world where pop culture often chases what is new, this choice does the opposite, it looks backward, in order to move forward. From this place, the message becomes clear. Korean culture did not appear overnight, it endured, and now, from the heart of its history, it speaks to the world. What begins in Gyeongbokgung, does not stay in Gyeongbokgung. This moment was never meant to be contained. From the palace grounds, the story starts to move, city to city, culture to culture. What began as a single song, becomes a journey. When BTS carries Arirang beyond Korea, they are not exporting tradition as a souvenir, they are carrying emotion. Each stop on the world tour adds a new layer, different languages, different histories, different audiences, yet the response is the same: silence, then recognition, because people do not need to know the lyrics to understand the feeling. A palace becomes a memory becomes a rhythm becomes a connection. This is no longer just a concert tour, it is culture in motion. Korean history does not stay behind glass, it walks onto the stage. And as the tour moves across continents, Arirang changes again. It is no longer only a Korean song, it becomes a meeting point between stories that have waited to be heard. What started in the heart of Seoul, now speaks in many voices, without losing its own. Some performances are remembered for their scale, others for their sound, but a few are remembered for what they change. This was one of those moments, when BTS chose to begin their journey, not in a stadium, but in the heart of Korean history. They shifted the meaning of a world tour. They showed that culture does not move forward by forgetting where it came from, it moves forward by carrying memory with it. Arirang did not lose its sorrow, it gained distance, distance that allowed the world to hear it clearly. From Gyeongbokgung to global stages, this was not the story of expansion, it was the story of connection, a reminder that music can hold history, that rhythm can carry emotion, and that a song born in one land can belong everywhere. Years from now, this moment will not be remembered as just another comeback, it will be remembered as the night Korean history stepped onto the world stage and sang in its own voice, and it all began with one song, in one place, that refused to stay in the past.